All right. We still have one more presentation. So again, I apologize to the group. Dr. Rivers predicted that he would be up at 10 o'clock, so he just missed it by about 25
And I got
minutes.
30 more slides for you, so we'll get started.
We have reduced his presentation, and his is a little more straightforward. So, Dr. Rivers, and again, congratulations to you on being the chief CTI, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, officially approved tonight in the third reading of the budget. So, congratulations to your new position, and walk us through the start and end times.
Good evening, everyone, Madam Chair, board members. Just have a couple of slides, just want to kind of go over and just some lessons learned through the pandemic for school starts and end times. And this is just kind of a reminder of where we ended last year. Elementary school start time was 7:50 to 2 o'clock. Middle and high had the same start times of 8:30 and 3:30. And we did that just to be consistent as well as to make sure we had enough things in place so that we can start our school day, put in place our mitigation strategies to make sure we can serve all students in an appropriate manner. So we had to find some consistent start times. And what we learned with middle and high school, even in previous years, having that same start time kind of put a strain on the system of our school buses. And so we were running a lot of second and sometimes triple routes, double and triple routes through our middle and high schools because they were dismissing at the same time. We were starting school at the same time. And so what we wanted to do with the upcoming school year was to somewhat stagger our start in dismissal times, especially in middle and high school. So for next year, elementary school start day will begin at 7:40 and at 2:20, and that gives you about 400 minutes of instruction within that school day. Middle will begin at 8:10 and end at 3:20, 430 minutes of instruction. And then high school at 8:35 and 3:45 dismissal time, which also is about 430 minutes of instruction. So that gap in time, especially in middle and high school, of roughly 25 minutes, allows our transportation system, and Jeff Caldwell and I, we've talked a number of times with Bill Kurtz, it gives us opportunity to use our entire fleet for middle school and then move that fleet to high school. And so with the shortage of bus drivers and the systems that we have right now, it allows hopefully just a single route of students, and that way students are not staying at school 30 and 45 minutes waiting for that second and third route to get there, and they can be dismissed and get home in an appropriate time. So we're hoping that this will work. So we'll monitor and study it this coming school year and to see if it's working, if 25 minutes of time is enough, and if so, we'll be in a good position. And so here just kind of highlights the things I just said. It just alleviates that burden on the system of those staggered start and dismissal times. And so this is really just for information for you to have for next school year. And the main thing as well is that we're consistent across all of our schools with 30 plus schools right now. All middle schools will start at 8:10 and end at 3:20. So when you ask in Pillion, Gilbert, Beechwood, what time does school start in middle school? We can easily say 8:10. Same thing for high school. River Bluff, Gilbert High School, what time does school start? If I'm a high school parent, 8:35. What time does school dismiss? 3:45. So that consistency, I think, will help us have that conversation with our parents. No matter what level your child is in, it's going to be the same across all elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. So just information for you tonight, and if you have any questions, let me know.
So who gave input into this besides Mr. Kurtz in the transportation department?
All of our school principals and teachers provided input into the times and conversations. So we collectively came together, talked about it, shared information with them, and talked with the teachers and principal, school administrators.
Okay. You may want to talk to the bus drivers. As a former bus driver, I can just tell you looking at this. So I picked up middle school late every day because my elementary route always ran over. So just say I picked them up at 3:20. My first stop was 15 minutes away from the school. So I wouldn't even be dropping off my first child until 3:35. And then I have, 20, 25 minutes worth of stops to make, and then a 15-minute ride back to the school. So this may work in Lexington, River Bluff, possibly White Knoll, but I have no earthly idea how you'd pull that off in Gilbert and Pillion.
And that's something that we will look at, and as I indicated earlier, we're going to monitor this structure for this coming school year, and we can make those adjustments with transportations supervisors in those areas. So those are some things that we will look at and try to adjust if needed.
If I might, Ms. Garris, did you run a elementary, middle, and high?
Right, and
Do all or most of the buses in say Gilbert and Pillion, to your remembrance, run all three?
most, yes. There are only a couple that do not.
Because obviously the advantage here from a 30,000-foot view is that all the buses run elementary, then they all run middle, then they all run high, and so you've got you got the full fleet. But in the smaller rural areas, that's something certainly we would need to consider.
Right, so
Okay.
I mean, there were only a few that didn't run middle high and that were assigned to just elementary. So you would only be adding, 4 buses to your middle high fleet when you have 23 buses.
Yeah. That's far better than now, but you're right.
Yeah, that's gonna make for an interesting first few days of school. Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know what to say. I think this is, I don't know. You're running buses 3 times. When you're middle and high right now, all the kids are riding together. So you're using twice as much gas. And you're putting twice as much wear and tear on the buses. So,
And we also have many, many routes that go to the school to pick up and then go back to the school to pick up another. That's one of the things we're trying to eliminate, is to having bus 2 have so many kids from Pleasant Hill Middle School that we can only take half of that route home, go back, and they don't get picked up till about 4:30 to go home. So if we're having all of our buses service all of our schools, we truly feel like it's going to be much more efficient than what we have now, because with the shortage of drivers and the overabundance of folks who are staying at school not being picked up until 4:30, that's very taxing on the students and on the faculty that's there to watch them. So.
right, I totally agree that there is a problem. I just don't believe this is the solution to it. I think this will add more problems, but we can wait and see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rivers.